In a past life, my mother tearfully pleaded with me to stop my younger sister from taking the civil service exam. Our father had committed a grave crime, died in prison, and I couldn't bear to see my mother heartbroken. My sister was desperate. It took immense effort to persuade her to give up, but later, she became lazy, unwilling to work, and eventually lost her job. She blamed me, accusing me of blocking her path to a stable career. With a stab to my chest, she killed me. As my vision faded, I saw my mother's figure, skilled at concealing sins, helping my sister. When I awoke, I was back at the moment my mother pleaded with me to stop my sister from taking the exam. My mother, Martha, repeatedly urged me, "My child, you must advise your sister not to take the exam." During dinner, my sister, Isabel, declared she'd quit her job to prepare for the exam. Hearing this, my mother was stunned, her chopsticks falling to the ground. Isabel frowned. "Mom, how can we pass the exam now? It's like securing a stable job for life. Don't you want me to live well?" Martha reluctantly replied, "I didn't mean that." Isabel smiled meaningfully, then turned to me. "Anyway, you work every day. Let me use your room to study. Clean it up for me later." Martha looked at me, hoping I'd offer advice. The scene mirrored my past life. The pain still stung. I gently smiled. "Okay, just do your best, Isabel." Isabel beamed, but Martha couldn't smile. Hastily eating a few bites, she left. I wasn't in a rush. In my past life, my sister's job was far away, and she rarely returned. Martha busied herself preparing dishes we both loved. I also enjoyed them, so I ate my fill. This time, after finishing, Martha pulled me into her room, repeating the same words from before. She hoped I'd persuade Isabel not to take the exam. I stared at her, feigning confusion. "Why? She's bought so many books and prepared thoroughly." Martha hesitated before finally confessing, "Your father was imprisoned and died there. Don't let Isabel know, okay? I'm afraid she can't bear it." Since childhood, whenever we asked about our father, Martha maintained a gentle demeanor, recounting his heroic deeds. In her stories, the man we never met was a selfless hero, sacrificing himself for others. Isabel and I believed her wholeheartedly. Isabel even proudly called herself the daughter of a hero at school. In my past life, upon hearing the truth, I was stunned. Thinking of Martha's struggles raising us alone and Isabel's diligent exam preparation, I decided to keep the secret and find ways to stop her. I didn't want the image of our father and Isabel's heart to collapse, nor did I want her to know she wasn't eligible for the exam from the start. I analyzed costs and risks, secretly paid for a nearby high-paying, easy job for her. Eventually, she gave up the exam. I thought life would stabilize, but Isabel's laziness remained. Despite the easy job, she was fired for negligence. Blaming me, she lured me home under the guise of helping Mom, then stabbed me. "It's your fault, sister. If you hadn't stopped me, I'd have passed and wouldn't be fired." Everything happened too suddenly. I saw Mom standing idly, and when I reached out for help, she said, "Isabel, be gentle. Too much blood will be hard to clean." "Why? I'm also your daughter. Why only protect Isabel?" I died unwillingly. When I awoke, I was back at the day Isabel declared she'd quit to take the exam. This life, I'll encourage her with all my might, then reveal she's ineligible. I want to see how she'll overcome this. Seeing Martha's pleading eyes, my heart was calm. In my past life, I didn't probe further to avoid upsetting her, but this time curiosity struck. "What crime did Dad commit, Mom?" She feigned thought, then hesitated, trying to evade. "He was imprisoned, you know that." "If he was imprisoned, Isabel won't pass the background check." Seeing her awkwardness, I pressed. "Not all crimes disqualify. If Dad's crime was minor, Isabel could still take the exam." I patted her shoulder. "Mom, we can't tell her not to try, right? We can't say don't bother anymore." Seeing I had no intention of persuading Isabel, Martha grew anxious. "She won't pass. Please help me advise her." Despite her pleas, I maintained an encouraging stance. Martha refused to specify Dad's crime. Eventually, she snapped. "I told you to advise her, and you didn't. How could you disobey me now? I raised you alone, and you won't listen." This was Martha's usual tactic to pressure me, only used on me, never on Isabel. She targeted me when I refused to drop out to work, when I wanted to study instead of doing chores, when I asked for travel money. With Isabel, she only pressured me to help her. "Your company director, find her a job, and she'll stop thinking about the exam." Observing her actions closely, I realized her tears were fake, her acting exaggerated. She even wanted me to find jobs for Isabel, jobs I'd always arranged to appease Martha to temporarily ease her. I gently said, "Okay, I'll find a way to advise her." She stopped crying, wiped her tears, smiled, and held my hand. Right, no matter what, she's your sister. You can't abandon her. I calmly withdrew my hand. Of course, I'll advise her wholeheartedly. I'll encourage her to work twice as hard, making her think she can overcome everything, then finally realize she's unqualified. You're right, Mom. She's my sister. Even when I died in my past life, she remained my sister. Martha nodded, but her expression hinted at satisfaction, as if she held the upper hand. I secretly arranged to meet Isabel. Initially, she refused. Sis, don't you know every minute is precious? I don't have time to play with you. Clever act. If she hadn't been online gaming 3 minutes ago, I might have believed her. I sent the location of a high-end restaurant, and Isabel immediately replied, Wait for me, I'm coming. This restaurant was famous for its exorbitant prices, and Isabel's social media was filled with posts flaunting luxury items to showcase her taste. I'd spend a fortune to book a private room. As expected, Isabel arrived swiftly. Sis, you rarely do this. Your style's not bad today, she said, expertly ordering the priciest dishes. I gave a faint smile. Aren't you studying hard? I thought you'd relax a bit. Isabel nodded. Of course, sis, those exam questions make my head spin. My eyes hurt too. I stirred my coffee, feigning concern. Isabel, are you determined to take the exam? She immediately tensed, her tone sharp. What do you mean, sis? Don't you want me to live well? I remained cool. If there's an issue, let's talk. If not, think about it. I bluntly said, Mom doesn't want you to take the exam. Isabel laughed sarcastically. How could that be? She promised me a new house if I pass. A house? I quickly calculated Martha's funds. Since Isabel and I started working, only I sent her money monthly, most of which she used to support Isabel. How could she afford a house? No money. No house. Definitely another scheme to exploit me. Hatred surged through me. I didn't understand why, as her daughter, Martha always favored Isabel. But outwardly I kept smiling. Why would I be jealous of you? Fearing you'd surpass me if you pass? Am I trying to drive a wedge between us? Isabel frowned, displeased but unwilling to leave. Those expensive dishes hadn't been served yet. I sipped my coffee, casually saying, Mom cooks, cleans, and takes care of you all day. She must feel a bit resentful. You shouldn't burden her so much. Her expression changed. I gently added, even the neighbors know. Isabel had been lazy since her past life, enjoying others' care like a deity. She couldn't bear to be told directly. I'm not doing anything. I'm busy studying, she said as the food arrived. I peeled a lobster and put it in her bowl. She smiled. Okay, sis. You know studying is my top priority now, but I also understand Mom's nature. If she goes outside and gossips, I won't be at peace. I subtly suggested, how about I rent you a room outside so you can study in peace? Tell Mom you're not taking the exam anymore, surprise her when you pass. Initially hesitant, even with me paying, without Martha, she'd have to clean herself, which was too troublesome. I didn't rush her. After the meal, I excused myself, saying I was busy, and left. Soon, Isabel posted a photo of a lavish meal online, captioned, Busy all day. I must reward myself. Sweat pays off. Effort ignites brilliance. She received countless likes and praise. Isabel replied with cute emojis, basking in admiration. Instead of exposing her, I told Martha I couldn't persuade Isabel. Martha anxiously asked, What kind of child are you? Didn't you promise, Mom? Her commanding tone irritated me. I suggested she needs a quiet study environment. If Mom makes some noise at home and she can't concentrate, she'll give up on her own. Martha hesitated, knowing this would anger Isabel. But I assured her, Mom, it's for her own good. She'll understand. Once she gives up, I'll find her a good job. Martha agreed. Remember to find her a high-paying, easy job. Don't let her suffer. I hung up, silently awaiting the drama. As expected, a few days later, Isabel texted. Sis, can you help me rent a place? I asked why. She sent several 60-second voice messages, frustrated with Martha. In summary, despite being in her room, the soundproofing was poor, and Martha kept making noise, like chopping meat all morning, nearly splitting the cutting board, even prompting neighbors to complain. I chuckled. Only Martha could devise such madness. She also frenziedly cleaned, scrubbing floors and tables at maximum volume. Isabel confronted her, but Martha feigned innocence. I just wanted to keep the house clean so you can study comfortably. Furious, Isabel cursed her, still demanding I rent her a place bright, not too small, good soundproofing, no strange neighbors, and a beautiful view. I almost blurted, "Are you dreaming?" but agreed, emphasizing, "Don't tell mom. Just say you're not taking the exam and looking for a job. What if she won't let you leave?" Seeing her reply, "Okay," I smirked. "Sister, don't disappoint me. You must pass." Simultaneously, I had someone investigate Dad's death in prison. One thing I couldn't forget from my past life was when Martha saw Isabel stab me and said, "So much blood is hard to clean." A chilling realization struck. Had she ever swiftly handled something before? Isabel moved into the rented place but complained, "Why do you rent such a terrible spot? It's so small." I replied, "This is the best available and it's not cheap. Just bear with it. You know it's hard to find rentals nearby." Isabel pouted but obediently unpacked. She sat on the sofa complaining, "Sis, I'm hungry." I raised an eyebrow. "Want me to cook?" She suggested. "KFC has a new fried chicken dish, delicious. Buy it for me." I pretended to check my phone. "Oh, I'm busy with work. Figure it out yourself. I'm leaving." Previously, as long as I acted quickly, I wouldn't become a puppet controlled by others. After settling Isabel, Martha called, frustrated. "Isabel's not taking the exam anymore. Find her a job quickly to distract her." I couldn't help asking, "What if I don't?" Her sharp reproach erupted. "You promised Mom. Are you going back on your word? She's your sister. You must take care of her." A cold numbness enveloped me. In my past life, no one treated me as a sister. I calmly replied, "I'll find her a job, help her achieve everything, then let her fall the hardest." Martha laughed contentedly. "You're such a good daughter. Let's discuss more. Isabel's grown. It's time to consider marriage. Though she doesn't have a partner yet, online it says girls must have a house before marriage to be stable." I jolted. Before, Martha told Isabel a house would be her reward if she passed the exam. In my past life, this happened too. Then Martha's reason was, "Isabel is about to marry and needs a wedding house." "You handle it," she'd said. Isabel didn't even have a boyfriend yet, and Martha already planned this? It meant that regardless, she wanted a house from me for Isabel. She truly doted on Isabel. So Mom, as the older sister, I must take care of her, right? Today, Martha checked house prices, only about 1 million. The city isn't big, but 1 million only buys in the most upscale areas. Martha truly knows how to calculate for Isabel. "All right, when I have time I'll check." "You're such a good girl," Martha said, satisfied, ending the call. Buying a house? I thought of Dad's old house, perhaps gifting it to them. I continued encouraging Isabel to study seriously, even introducing her to many renowned teachers and courses. The biggest motivation, however, was when I told her, "If you pass, there are many eligible civil servant bachelors for you to choose from." This made her determined for the first time. Meanwhile, Martha kept urging me to view houses. I always excused myself with work. She grew anxious. "Are you planning to renege? Mom, can I work overtime for triple pay? You don't need money anymore, right?" Hearing this, Martha immediately softened. She wanted me to buy a house, but also earn more for her to exploit. Finally, Isabel's exam day arrived. Afterward, she hastily posted online, "Years of grinding. Now blood and sweat pay off," accompanied by a selfie in front of the exam center. As expected, seeing this post, Martha immediately called. "Olivia, what's going on? Isabel still took the exam?" I feigned innocence. "Mom, I didn't know. Didn't you say she didn't want to take it?" On the other end, Martha seemed furious, breathing heavily. "I told you to stop her. What are you good for? What do we do now?" I glanced at Isabel sitting silently beside me, just making a promotion hand gesture. "It's okay, Mom. So many people take the exam yearly, maybe she didn't pass. If she fails, it's good." Martha paused, then said, "Isabel's never liked studying. She definitely didn't pass this time. As long as she fails, it's fine." I deliberately put the call on speaker for Isabel to hear. Her face darkened instantly, and she hung up. Isabel coldly said, "Sis, that old woman truly doesn't want me to pass. She doesn't want me to live well. She once said she didn't want me to be happy. Now it's true. The person who doesn't want me to be happy is Martha." I pretended to advise, "Maybe Mom just cares about you. She might think with so many test takers, if you tried so hard and failed, you'd be sad and disappointed. It's better to give up from the start. Anyway, Mom always asks me to find you a job, even if it's unstable." Before I finished, Isabel slammed the table, her face red with anger. "She doesn't want me to live well? What's wrong with me passing? Why wouldn't she want that? She just wants me to work like an ox for others. Only by passing can I relax without fear of losing my job. Isn't that better? This is Isabel's thinking. She believes passing guarantees lifelong benefits, an easy job with no worries. Never considering salary delays or work pressure. I refuse to work. Don't find me a job, sis. Isabel pointed at me angrily, ordering. I nodded. I won't. I added fuel to the fire. Actually, working isn't bad. I can help you find a light, high-paying job, just 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. That schedule is ideal. But Isabel, since school, refused to attend classes regularly. How could she accept this? I won't go. You think I won't pass and want to harm me, right? I kept waving my hands. How could I? You've prepared so well. You'll definitely pass. You must pass. Isabel was determined. When the background check reveals your father's crimes, your expression will be interesting then. On my way back to my apartment, I received a message from the investigator, a verdict from over 20 years ago. Seeing the black text on white paper, I was stunned, speechless. No wonder Martha was certain Isabel couldn't pass the background check. I told Isabel to tell Martha she'd found a job. Martha kept probing me to confirm, seemingly distrustful of Isabel. I assured her she's truly working now. In reality, Isabel was still loafing in the rented house, gaming. Martha sighed in relief, then asked, "Are you free the other day? Come home." Surprised, I asked, "Is my sister coming?" No, Mom just wants to see you." Don't tell her. When someone suddenly wants to meet you without a clear reason, there must be hidden motives. But I decided to go home. Upon entering, the dining table was filled with chicken, duck, and shrimp dishes, usually prepared only when Isabel visited. On the sofa sat a strange, portly man with a shiny bald head. Martha greeted me enthusiastically. "Mac, come here, let me introduce you to President Henry. He's young, talented, and owns several big companies." President Henry. His eyes, squinted by facial fat, exuded a greasy, nauseating aura. I asked, "President Henry?" Martha immediately displayed unprecedented eagerness. He's renowned for his youth and talent. Hearing the flattery, Henry raised his head arrogantly, revealing a double chin. I inwardly rolled my eyes. So Martha planned to sell me to him. Young and talented? I examined him from head to toe, his wrinkled face, beyond plastic surgery's help, reeking of decay. Martha truly had good intentions for me. Seeing me stand still with a cold face, she grew annoyed. "What are you doing? Sit down and eat. Invite him to sit too." As soon as I sat, his foot slid to touch mine. I couldn't bear it. Stomping hard on his foot, he yelped in pain. I shouted, "There's a rat." I stomped it a few more times. After releasing my foot, I feigned concern. "Sorry. I was scared of the rat and didn't notice." Martha was about to scold me when the door unlocked. Isabel entered, glanced around, then pointed at Martha. "Great, Mom. You dare to hide this from me. Feeding sis good food without inviting me." I smirked. Isabel arrived quickly. As soon as I entered the house, I'd snapped a photo of the feast and sent it to her. Martha didn't expect me to bring Isabel. I stood up, imitating her earlier eagerness, introducing Isabel to Henry. Isabel, unlike me, immediately blurted, "Where'd this fat pig come from?" Henry, hearing this, dropped his chopsticks. "Your sister is the co." "Don't speak like that." Isabel grew more disdainful. "A CEO demanding to eat at my house? Looking at you, bankruptcy is inevitable." Martha, alternating between shock and anger, watched Henry's worsening expression and Isabel's arrogant demeanor, unsure what to do. Insulted, Henry couldn't endure it. He stood up, dusted his behind, and left. I suppressed my laughter, pretending to scold Isabel. "That's disrespectful." Isabel didn't care. After I pass, do people like him deserve my respect? It seemed in her mind she'd already envisioned herself as a high-ranking official. Martha, hearing this, was incredulous. "What did you say? Aren't you working now? How could you pass?" This touched Isabel's nerve. Initially, when I told her Martha wanted me to stop her exam prep, she thought I was driving a wedge. But after Martha deliberately disrupted her studies, forcing her to move out, and overhearing my phone call with Martha, now hearing Martha's words directly, Isabel immediately turned cold. "What do you mean? What's this about not being able to pass?" "Mom, clarify today." Martha panicked, waving her hands. No, that's not what I meant. How should I explain now? Tell Isabel the truth, that the heroic father in her heart is just a lie? For Mom, I recalled Isabel's school days, always proudly declaring herself the daughter of a hero, even earning admiration from peers. Occasionally, she'd still mention her heroic father in stories. If she learned it was all fabrication, she might go insane, especially since she was dreaming of passing the exam. Martha didn't know what to do, so she looked to me for help. I calmly said, "Mom's worried that if you pass, you'll work far away and not come home, right?" As I spoke, I peeled a shrimp and put it in my mouth. Delicious. Martha quickly agreed. Yes, exactly. I'm just afraid if you pass far from home, I'll be alone. What then? Isabel, of course, didn't believe it. Far from home? What nonsense. I'm applying for a city position. Mom's tricking me, right? Martha was stunned, speechless. I feigned a sudden realization. Mom's afraid you'll end up like Dad, also dying young. Martha immediately grasped my intent, collapsing to the ground, feigning tears. So tragic. Your father died that way too. I was unimpressed by her act. She'd make a fortune in Hollywood. Hearing the words heroic father, Isabel's face finally showed trust. After all, in her heart, that father was more sacred than Martha. Oh, just that? It sounds like I'm taking some dangerous exam. Don't worry, little sister Isabel, she said, rolling her eyes. Martha, relieved, stood up, smiled at Isabel and said, Tired, aren't you? Let's eat first. Only then did Martha notice the food had been disturbed. I swallowed a mouthful of lobster, smiling. Mom's right. Lately, my sister should relax more and eat plenty. Martha and Isabel, both embarrassed, sat down stiffly to eat. Oh, I forgot. Earlier during our conversation, I accidentally spat into all the dishes, but I'm sure you don't mind. After the meal, Martha had to advise extensively to see Isabel off. Previously, all she'd wanted was for Isabel to stay home under her watch. As soon as Isabel left, Martha immediately berated me. Olivia, what kind of child are you? Didn't I tell you to stop her? How useless can you be? I pretended not to hear. Martha raised her hand to hit me, but I grabbed hers first, squeezing hard. Seeing her shocked face, I found it amusing. Turns out hitting someone is so satisfying. Unable to resist, I kicked her again. Martha fell to the ground, still incredulous. I sneered. Where's your strength today? The one who wanted to sell me to that fat Henry? Isabel was right, he was a disgusting pig. In Mom's eyes, I'm only fit for such people. Martha, clutching her stomach in pain, still managed to scold. Ungrateful child. I raised you for years and this is how you repay me. I laughed bitterly. Raised me? If not for the country's 9-year compulsory education law, I might not have even gone to school. While Isabel ate well in the cafeteria and occasionally snacked at the school gate, I starved. When Isabel made mistakes, I was punished because I couldn't take care of her. When I was bullied, Mom hit me, asking if I'd offended others. That's how you raised me? So great. All these years, I've sent you money, still not enough to repay you? Martha gritted her teeth, her face twisted with anger. Never enough. Never. If not for you, your father wouldn't have gone to prison. Wouldn't have died. You're despicable. Raising you was a waste. So that's it. I'm not your biological child. All the doubts in my heart are finally answered. No wonder in my past life you helped Isabel deal with me. The difference between a stepchild and a biological child is clear. A middle-aged woman like you is no match for me. I slapped her again. I'm not your child, so why should I care for you? I coldly said. You have no job, no income. Isabel also has no job, no income. If I don't give you money, how will you two parasites live? Martha was stunned, speechless. How could she know? I died once before. Having died once, what's left to fear? Martha gnashed her teeth, shouting. Disrespectful child. Grown a backbone, haven't you? Think I can't make you lose your job. Turns out she has nothing to threaten me with. In my past life, I was trapped by her fake love. Martha, that's all the courage you have? Seeing her disheveled state, I sneered. Don't forget, the exam results are out. I saw Isabel prepare diligently. If she passes, how will you explain? Martha was speechless, Agape. I didn't bother looking at her further, turned, and left, leaving behind her mournful cries. Soon, Isabel indeed posted online. Effort is rewarded, accompanied by a photo of her score sheet. It must be admitted, when focused, she can achieve good results. Unfortunately, all efforts were in vain. Isabel texted me hesitantly. Sis, I'm sure I passed this time. What reward will you give me? It seemed Martha hadn't told her about our argument. I praised her. My sister's so capable. Let's celebrate with a big meal. Isabel hesitated, then texted. Is it okay if I bring a friend? Knowing her nature, I agreed immediately. Sure enough, as soon as we arrived, she boastfully said, "Today, my sister is treating me to celebrate my upcoming civil servant position. You all must flatter me more in the future. Call me Your Honor, okay?" I just shook my head inwardly. Isabel doesn't know restraint. Already bragging before certainty. I just continued to flatter her. Then after the interview and all procedures, when the list of successful candidates was announced, Isabel discovered her name wasn't there. She collapsed, unable to accept it. It can't be, it can't be. Someone must have bribed to steal my spot. Sis, you have to help me. I calmly smiled. No one bribed. The issue is you're unqualified. Isabel was stunned. What did you say? I took out a yellowed verdict with black and white text, clearly stating the crimes of a man. 2 murders. Sentenced to death, but died of illness in prison before execution. Isabel shouted, "What's this? Take it away." I grabbed it tightly, slapping it hard across her face, whispering, "This is your heroic father. Enjoy the fall from heaven to hell. All your efforts are now dust." Isabel's body trembled. She frenziedly tore the verdict into pieces, screaming incoherently, then fainted. When Isabel awoke, Martha had been taken away by police. After learning I wasn't Martha's biological child, I took a DNA test to find my birth parents. Soon, the results showed I was the child of the couple murdered by Martha's husband. It turned out that year, Martha helped her husband dispose of the body. He took all the blame and went to prison while she fled with me and Isabel. The reason she took me? At the time, she thought the unborn child was a boy, intending to raise me as a daughter-in-law for him. But unexpectedly, the child was a girl. And since the neighbors knew she had 2 children, she couldn't abandon me. This is why she always scolded and neglected me since childhood. Now she can't escape punishment. Isabel stared blankly as police led Martha away, speechless. It wasn't until only the 2 of us remained in the hospital room that she hoarsely asked, "Sis, why didn't you stop me from taking the exam this time? Why let me shatter my dream? Are you also reborn? Was he truly a hero?" Isabel suddenly shouted, lunging to scratch me. I grabbed her hand tightly, coldly asking, "Isabel, would it be interesting if I cut you open?" She froze, horror evident on her face. I whispered, "I've known for a long time your father wasn't a good person. Didn't you say that if I hadn't stopped you, you'd have a government job, lying comfortably for life? Didn't you blame me for blocking your path? Now I didn't stop you. I even helped you with a good study environment, encouraged you, yet you're still unhappy." Isabel stammered. I didn't know anything." "Exactly. You knew nothing, so you freely blamed me." I coldly recounted every crime Martha and her husband committed. "The heroic father you're proud of was a despicable murderer who killed my birth parents. You're the daughter of a killer. You have nothing but youth. After high school, you barely attended college. The jobs I introduced you to? You never held one for over half a year. Now, taking the exam was just a pipe dream. What will a good-for-nothing like you do in the future?" Isabel sat rigidly on the hospital bed, then burst into mournful sobs, her cries echoing through the room. The next time I heard about Isabel, she'd gone insane. In her madness, she killed Martha. The case was too old, most evidence was gone. Martha was only sentenced to a few years in prison. After her release, she immediately sought Isabel. But as I said, Isabel was inherently useless. Even self-support was difficult, let alone supporting Martha. She hated Martha for not revealing the truth sooner, causing her to waste effort in vain, and for destroying her dream with that man. So during a minor argument, Isabel raised a knife, just like she did to me in my past life, and killed Martha with a single strike. When arrested, she still laughed maniacally. "I'm rich with an easy job. You're all envious of me, right?" As for me, I visited my birth parents' graves, offering belated remembrance after over 20 years. From then on, my life was free of those unrelated shadows.